Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we're looking at X-Men Special Edition number 1, the first and possibly only single issue reprint. I could be very wrong about that. I'm sure I am. Reprinting Giant Size X-Men number 1, the first appearance of the new X-Men replacing the original X-Men. Such a cool book. Blew my mind, changed my life. Has a new story by Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum as a backup feature. So, very cool book. Cannot wait to show it to you. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Let's get right into it. I remember this, me and my brother finding this at 7-Eleven. Like, so excited to find it. This was the X-Men to me, minus Banshee, Thunderbird, and Sunfire, and the originals. You know, it's like, I think it was like 163 I came on board. So I missed the boat on Burn. I missed the boat on Giant Size number 1. And I saw this and I was like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? And this is my first chance to read the story. So I scooped it up. $2. It's big. It reprints the double size issue. It's got this gorgeous wraparound cover. If you follow Art Adams at all on Facebook or Instagram perhaps, he has posted, he's been commissioned to recreate this cover, and it is sick. It is so cool. I love this cover. It is like one of my all-time favorite covers. I love Dave Cockrum's signature. I love that Dave Cockrum did this cover. It looks very cool. It just showed that he still had it. He draws such a great Colossus. I mean, he really draws. Byrne will always be my favorite, X-Men artist, but Dave Cockrum just, props to the master, co-creator of the team. He created Storm's iconic look and, one of the best costume designs ever. I believe he might have made Wolverine's pointed mask a little larger. I mean, created the looks of Colossus and Nightcrawler. That's freaking amazing right there. So, this is a very cool book. I feel like this is kind of worth something too. Not bad shape, but I know I read the crap out of this because I was just so excited, in disbelief. It was printed on this gorgeous Baxter paper, so this is probably it's just such a great glimpse for me. Louise Jones, before she became Louise Simonson, editor of the X-Men at the time, introducing, here it is, the most uncanny volume of all. Representation of Giant Size X-Men number 1, plus a tale by Claremont and Dave Cockrum. Yada, yada, yada. Here's a fun commission of the X-Men. Love that. Dave Cockrum was famously, Nightcrawler was his favorite, and he did that great Nightcrawler series. I think I have that coming up too sometime, guys. But anyway, I loved his version of, the X-Men, and it's funny because I feel like this is the later era Cockrum, and this is his first crack at it, and a lot of people argue that his first go on the X-Men was his best, and it kind of does look like it, but he is inking himself at this point too, which his art looks so killer when he inks it, and I think during his second run it was Joseph Rubinstein, and I don't know, maybe it wasn't the best fit, or I don't know what was happening, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Anyway, great, iconic splash page. I love the color holds here. Len Wein, writer, editor, Dave Cockrum, co-creators. Dave Cockrum's penciling and inking, and they co-created the team together. Some were pre-existing, of course, like Banshee and Sunfire, I think, and Wolverine. But anyway, Glennis Wein, colorist, John Costanza, letterer. Second Genesis, such a great, the best introduction of a team anywhere. It's so iconic. It's funny because some of the characters, Nightcrawler, gets a lot of screen time here with a 1, 2, 3 full pages that it takes Xavier to recruit him to join the new X-Men so they can go rescue the old X-Men. And oh my God, it's funny, the evolution of Nightcrawler. I noticed it right here. His face looks so cool. but decidedly more demonic than like the way John Byrne would draw it, and even Cockrum himself. I feel like, because he looks more handsome there, don't you all think? Like, and way more demonic. I kind of am living for the demonic look. That looks so cool. And this, oh my god, I just remember loving this book so much when it came out with me and my brother, just like dying. And like, Wolverine was my brother's favorite. And I just thought this was such a cool page, and he looks so cool here. And I love how he just was like so easy to walk away from the Canadian government. So iconic. I just love it. The one claw, and then he like rips his tie up. So he just walks away from his government attachments as Weapon Alpha. We would later find out, and of course that would bite him on the ass and introduce us to my beloved Alpha Flight. So the seeds are being planted right here. Anyway, oh my god, another great, I love the Banshee, hilarious. Oh, me Shalele Bagora, tis Professor X himself now. I don't know, does that fly anymore? Do they still do that kind of like inflection in the comic book? Anyway, 2 panels. He's like, yeah, whatever. I was just gonna be watching Murder, She Wrote tonight anyway, so I'll join the X-Men again. I'll probably only be there until my throat croaks after 1 issue. And then my beloved frickin' Storm. Could you imagine owning the original page of art to this? It is so beautiful and so iconic. She looks so majestic and beautiful. I would normally be annoyed by this coloring mistake, but it looks kind of cool with her blue, her white parts colored blue and the blue parts colored white, and it should be the opposite, but if it were the opposite in that one too. But oh my god, the ink and the pen work, and this is beautiful. I love her pillowy lips and her sort of like feline cat look. I mean, Storm is just like my all-time favorite. I've always been in love with her. I just can't even, like, I've had other videos talking about like what a triumph. I mean, let's face it, you know, Len Wein and Dave Cockrum created her, but Chris Claremont created a lot of her personality and stuff too. It's like so funny because like looking back, hindsight's 20/20, they say, and looking back like at her, I mean, she is a goddess here, and she's just like creating rain for her people, and they're praying to her, and I feel like they made a sacrifice, which kind of sucks, but I don't think modern Storm would fly for that. She would just be like, save, or maybe she did say that, save your beasts, children. I don't know. I am here, my children. What do you wish for? Yes, save your beasts. Yes, that sea Storm just very fully developed from the word jump, and Chris Claremont just knew exactly what to do with her. What a journey this character took. But it's kind of heartbreaking. I mean, look how beautiful this art is, guys. But it's heartbreaking in a way because she goes from this like majestic goddess connected to nature and the earth, and then within a couple panels, Xavier, this is why Xavier's a horrible person, by the way, systematically destroys her. What does he say? You're not a goddess. You're not a goddess, you're a mutant, and you have an obligation. I mean, whatever. And then she's like, okay, you sound sincere. I'll go with you. And then she sees the ugliness in the world, completely loses her connection to nature, gets a mohawk, loses her powers. I mean, she goes through it, gets shot in the head. It's rough. Colossus, one of my favorite characters too. They all are, aren't they, guys? I did particularly love the X-Men. I mean, life-changing. Chris Claremont's X-Men, right? I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. This art is so good. I just love this. Like, I remember just thinking how dramatic it was and what a great impact it had on me. And what a stud Colossus is, by the way. I mean, come on. And that white beater. No, and here comes Thunderbird, which I love. Like, I know it probably looks cheesy by today's standards, but I kind of liked the version that Rob Liefeld did in X-Force, and I kind of love this character. And I was like, after reading this book, I was like disappointed that Thunderbird and Sunfire did not stick around because I kind of thought they had cool costumes, and they kind of reminded me of, like Apache Chief and, the Judo one and the Super Friends or whatever. It was like the international flair of the team. I mean, this is very inclusive, they're global. They're like the global mutants. I love this. Like, Storm loves her costume, and boy, does she look beautiful in it. That's just like such a great costume, and this is such an iconic page. And once again, like, hitting it out of the park. This shows like the beauty and kind of mastery, and like how great this was. A little sacrilegious, but kind of cool. I kind of would like to get my hands on a physical copy so I could cover it, but in celebration of this giant size X-Men, they did like modern artists doing their own take on it, and yeah, you know what I mean? Do you want like, I don't know, John Romita Jr. to do the Sistine Chapel? But hell yeah, I absolutely do want John Romita Jr. to do the Sistine Chapel. That would be dope AF. Oh my god. Anyway, and when there was one, I Miss Comics Chapter 2. I mean, how awesome is this? We're looking at giant size X-Men. It must be 64 pages. So, of course, there has to be chapters. Colossus, so cool. Love this. He just looks like so happy and like enthusiastic. Nightcrawler looking all demonic. Thunderbird looking pretty pissed off. Sunfire and Banshee just shooting the shit on the steps. And there's Wolverine, the loner, all acting very characteristically. I love this window at the top of the steps. I mean, this is such a great... I mean, the freaking ship on the mantle. Dave Cockrum was just pulling out all the stops. That's what I love about artists from this era, too. Is like, these characters look 100 times more heroic because they're set against these, like, natural surroundings, and they pop against it. I did love Dave Cockrum's Cyclops. I always thought, like, I hate to compare John Byrne and Dave Cockrum, even though it's continuously done all the time, but, I love them both for different reasons, and I really do love Cockrum's Cyclops. I love his version of the team. I was feeling like, wondering, some of these panels look like, I mean, that's great right there. I love that. I thought it was so freaky. Cyclops with out his powers, and his eyes look like that, of course. I mean, those are some cheekbones, Dave Cockrum. Storm looking all beautiful. I love it. I mean, they're on Krakoa Island. Krakoa. And, I mean, I haven't read, like, modern X-Men in a long time. The most recent modern X-Men I just read was the Gambit throwback series by Chris Claremont, and that's as connected to the modern Marvel as I want to be, in a retro kind of way. I don't know, because, like, isn't Krakoa just, like, a place where mutants go to die and become resurrected? I mean, very strange. I love this, too. Storm and Colossus kind of trying to outrun this. And it's funny because it hadn't been established at this time, but this could very well be, like, a precursor to the revelation of Storm's infamous claustrophobia tied into her origin. Such a classic, beautiful, like, 60s looking Dave Cockrum woman there in Storm. I love that. Oh my god, this looks so good. This is making me want the Dave Cockrum X-Men Artist Edition that I think I need to order yesterday. Oh, Nightcrawler looks so good. I love it. Interesting to note the evolution. I mean, we're well into this, and he just keeps... Dave Cockrum is, like, giving till it hurts with the detail and, like, how cool Krakoa. We're on chapter 4, guys. Can you believe it? Some Zibitone thrown in here. I just love this book so much. It's weird I'm looking at it with different eyes all these years later, and just, like, this is, like, such great printing to see all the detail in the art and the brushwork, and I love that. That looks like so science fiction, like a brain with eyeballs. Very cool. This looks so iconic too. John Byrne recreated this panel in, I think, X-Men 138 perhaps, and I remember being excited to see John Byrne's version of it. But very, very, very freaking iconic. So cool. I love this. I need to see this art in black and white and like actual size. See, this was making me think that this looks very like Tom Palmer inked in a way. And I'm wondering if like he pitched in to help at all. Because that looks very Tom Palmer, and it is gorgeous. Polaris, I love her. Very cool there. I mean, come on. Like, I'm just saying, like, the level of quality is just consistent throughout this entire issue. And it is freaking gorgeous. It is epic. And, you know, cut to, like, modern run. Probably, you know, the 160s, 150s of the X-Men before Paul Smith's run. Maybe just right after, I don't know. Chris Claremont writer, Dave Cockrum, Hilary Barta artist, Tom Orzechowski, David Cody Weiss letters, Andy Yonkis of Alpha Flight fame, colorist, Louise Jones editor, and Chip Shooter editor-in-chief. Kitty working it out in the danger room on the uneven bars. Love that. Anyway. Illyana. This is like such a class. I feel like this is the look for Illyana that I was first introduced to her as. She was already, you know, like aged into a teenager. I always thought that was so cool. Kitty, like, using her phasing ability to walk on the air, essentially. I always felt like Chris Claremont did such a great job of like, you know, like, I think like a great Superman writer, you know, thinks of new and clever and inventive ways to show us the heroes like using their powers. And I just thought that Chris was always great at doing that. Like not only when they were fighting or in battle, but just like sort of in their everyday life. I just like that always was just such a thrill for me. And this is fun because it's very, you know, it's like a reprint of the new X-Men, but this is sort of like a modern story. So we get like a little walk through the X Mansion and a little explanation of some of the different, you know, characters by looking at their rooms. So that's kind of clever, huh? Nightcrawlers has a full-on jungle gym in it. I love it. A poster of him looking very Errol Flynn. Like, I think that's like the swashbuckler that like Dave Cockrum kind of envisioned him to be. I'm just going to read this out loud, but I'm not going to make any commentary. So they're talking about Colossus. That's a lovely painting. Yeah, he has the soul of a poet, but he doesn't believe he has the skills, the gifts, to properly express his feelings. He's wrong. And you two? Oh darn, what's the phrase? Got it. Are you two an item? Give me a break, he's 19. You're 14, so what? Like the swimsuit? I should, considering it's mine. Don't change the subject. Don't ask questions I can't answer. And there's Xavier lurking. Creepy. You know, I don't know if like it was always intentional with Xavier, but you know, there's just certain characters who sort of like, I don't know, ne'er-do-wells. Like, I don't know. What does that look like, guys? That color hold looks like a butthole. I'm sorry. I love your Dave Cockrum. I love your art. Rest in power. But that looks like a butthole for sure. Which is just a portal to another universe in its own sense anyway. Kitty just diving through the floor. I love when she confidently uses her phasing ability. I mean, at this point, how long was she on the X-Men? Like 12 years? I don't know. I mean, not really, but maybe a couple years. So, you know, a week. And then here she goes, 14, kissing, planting one on Colossus. And, you know, in his defense, he's like, you know, get off me. So anyway, the classic giant size X-Men cover. I love seeing it in black and white. Gil Kane now pencils, Dave Cockrum inks. Did you know that? Did you know that, guys? Like, how cool is that? Anyway, Very, very cool. Love this book. One of my all-time favorites. Reprint. Giant Size X-Men Special Edition #1. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, hit like, share my content, and I'll bring you more later.